We might have a look at some of these questions, and I'd like to involve both of you in the answers as well, if that's okay, if you don't mind. So we'll go to question 1, and this question comes from Frederick Maitland. Thank you, Frederick. And Frederick asks, are there any cask types you have dreamt about using but haven't yet? And I'll start off by saying, I'm sorry, Frederick, I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to making whiskey. I really do celebrate the fact that people are being innovative, but I think for me personally, my style of whiskey involves using those traditional barrels of port, sherry and bourbon. I know distilleries, and you just recently visited Old Kempton, and it recognised that some of these barrels aren't going to be so easy to get into the future, and we do have to experiment with other barrels. Did you get to try a Pinot cask when you were down there, Ryan?
Yeah, we did. We tried just about everything we can get our hands on, and I think I have to agree with you. I think some of the more traditional barrels do still produce a bit more definitive flavour profile, whereas some of these wine barrels. I mean, I've even experienced some Chardonnay barrels, some Pinot sherry barrels, and while they do give something a little bit different, I still think the focus drive of port sherry and bourbon are still the way forward. I think we won't see that going away anytime soon.
I think it would become a drink that we just don't know. We'd be creating something that might be okay, but it's not a single malt whiskey the way I've always wanted to enjoy. What about you, Gavin?
I would just say one thing on casks. I know there's a lot of stuff, and you're saying the traditional sort of casks, but I think it's quite interesting when you look at finishing casks as well. I know there's a Japanese brand, Chichubu, and they have a lot of sort of casks, Barbados rum casks and different things, but one of their expressions, the Wine Wood Reserve, they use a bourbon cask 3 to 6 years, and they finish it in a ovum. So a big egg, which is about 1.8 metres high, and it goes in there for about 4 to 6 weeks of limousine French oak, and then just the heating of it sort of just brings it around and keeps that sort of finishing perfectly. The other thing I find quite interesting is distillers and brewers exchanging casks between each other as well.
Yeah, I think that is an innovation that I'm not too afraid to explore a little bit more. I know at Lark we've just released a whiskey that we'd emptied a cask some time ago and given it to a brewer in Victoria who brewed a special beer in it and then returned the barrel to us. And we finished a whiskey off in that. And it was presented to me at the tasting panel, and I didn't know what it was, but all of us, our eyes popped open and we thought, what a cracker of a whiskey this is. Not your traditional maturation, but still a stunning whiskey.